Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Stevens, and this is the Psychology to Live By podcast. Our topic today is high performance in teams, and in particular, high performance that's enabled by a special kind of emotional fortitude, the kind of fortitude that's required in response to sustained, very high challenges. And it turns out that this is inseparable from creating a climate of psychological safety in which we feel we're all in the trenches together. In part one of this two-part series, we will examine why psychological safety is so important. In part two, we will explore strategies for cultivating psychological safety. Now, the purpose here is not to create a warm and cuddly environment for its own sake. It's about creating the conditions for the highest levels of sustainable performance and productivity. It so turns out that this is inseparable from creating a climate of psychological safety. Now, as background, as a species, we survived and prospered because of our social nature, specifically our extraordinary ability for teamwork. Conversely, social rejection and social embarrassment feel like life or death for us, and it hijacks our higher thought centers in the brain, undercutting our ability for analytical reasoning, strategic thought, and undermining our collective motivation. So, by contrast, we want productive mental states elicited by positive emotions. For example, we've known for a long time that having social support promotes psychological and physiological resilience via its positive effects on brain and hormone systems, especially our adrenal system and our central oxytocin pathways. And we'll talk more about that later. And from a performance point of view, a positive inner life has been shown to increase motivation, optimism, positivity, a sense of control, active coping strategies, higher self-esteem, and good mental health. So, it's a no-brainer that this is the climate we want to nurture at work, or indeed in any relationships in life. And how do we support such productive emotions in those around us? Like so many important things in life, it is simple, but by no means easy. A critical step is to create a team climate characterised by interpersonal trust and mutual respect, in which people are simply comfortable being themselves. As I said, simple, not always easy, and always this is a work in progress. So teams with psychological safety have a very robust feedback culture that focuses on making progress on meaningful goals. They exhibit high levels of trust where people aren't afraid to speak up, and they're typified by risk-taking and acknowledging mistakes or problems early, and their cultures where sticking your neck out is rewarded, not punished. Now, a key point, the teams that have high levels of psychological safety experience lower levels of stress in objectively very stressful circumstances. So such circumstances tend to be perceived as challenges rather than threats, and that makes all the difference. So, psychological safety is not about protecting people from high challenge and stress. It's not about football machines and beanbags. It is about exposing people to the pinch of reality while providing the conditions for them to thrive. So partly, it's about getting the stress levels right. Now, as you probably know, there are healthy levels of stress that stimulate curiosity and energy through the release, for example, of dopamine in the brain and adrenaline in the body. On the other hand, too much and too sustained stress creates distress. And contrary to some popular belief, when it comes to high performance, intense pressure is generally counterproductive. As Amabile and Kramer put it, quote, managers who say or secretly believe that employees work better under pressure, uncertainty, unhappiness, or fear are just plain wrong. negative work life has a negative effect on performance. People are less creative, less productive, less deeply committed to their work when their inner work lives darken. So, to create and sustain psychological safety, we first have to build a virtuous oxytocin circle, where stresses are experienced as challenges, not threats, and where the work culture is strongly pro-social. Now, oxytocin is a hormone that provides a raft of benefits, including physiological well-being, such as less bodily inflammation, lower blood pressure, lower heart rate, as well as psychological benefits, which includes feeling connected, more calmness, more focus, and more active coping strategies. And oxytocin is released in the presence of pro-sociality, or good old-fashioned kindness and authentic caring. And we are intrinsically designed to resonate with it, being tied as it is to our very survival instincts. And oxytocin also directly builds trust. And there is no team without trust, just self-concerned, competitive individuals. So trust, combined with a meaningful purpose, builds team engagement, passion, and then, of course, high performance. And such a system is self-sustaining, as it then stimulates the ongoing release of oxytocin, which then feeds more trust, and so on. And the question is, how do we build this oxytocin performance cycle? We'll return to this question in part 2 of creating psychological safety in teams. You've been listening to the Psychology to Live By podcast. If you'd like to know more, my website is www.drchris.life. And if you like the podcast, share it with people you like so they can like it too.